What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today, I'm ready to bring you my full review of the Kizer Assassin. What we will be doing today is going through specs, size comparisons, and thoughts and impressions on this particular knife. If you weren't aware, I did have a bit of a warranty claim that happened with this, so I will be getting into that as part of my thoughts and impressions. Let's go ahead and run through the specs. The Kizer has a 3.07 inch 154 cm blade steel, good steel, 4.21 inch steel frame liners with paper micarta overlays. Overall length of the Assassin 7.28 inches and claimed weight is 3.4 ounces. We'll go ahead and check that right now. Bring the scale on out here. There, it's zeroed out. Go ahead and so coming in at 3.3 of the 3.4 claimed weight. Let's go ahead and run through some size comparisons. Hopefully that'll help you with the size of the knife. First up is going to be the AD 20.5. A little bit smaller than the AD 20.5, and we'll go ahead and bring out the Shaman. Here you'll see this is just much larger overall, and you'll also see, in my opinion, how much the actual regular micarta looks in comparison to that paper micarta. All right, let's go ahead and get these out of the way, and then we will bring out the next two size comparison knives. First, we will bring out the Bug Out. Everybody's familiar with the Benchmade Bug Out, right? And you'll see the Assassin is still smaller than the Bug Out. And we will also go ahead and bring out the SIG K320 made by Hogue. Just so if you're familiar with either of these knives, hopefully that helps you from a size reference. Again, that Bug Out being ever so popular, I'm hoping that helps a lot of you with that size reference. Last but not least, we will go ahead and bring out some budget knives. First, we'll bring out the sub 3-inch Kubi Royal, aka the KU321. You'll see here very similar in size and presence to that particular Assassin. I think that's a nice reference there. And then we'll bring out the Buck 110 Slim. Another great reference here if you're familiar with that knife, giving you an idea of the size of the Assassin. Let's do quick profile thickness so that you can see how this actually carries in comparison to some of these other knives. So you'll see that it is just a little bit thinner than the Royal. I mean, it might even be even. It looks pretty close. I would probably give that an even pass. Here it is against the Bug Out. So you can see the Bug Out is just thinner. Again, I put my thumb there to make sure that I'm keeping it even, because if I try to do it like this, there's just too much room for play. I'm sitting up against that liner, and you know, it's a little bit more stable for me. And then against the Demco AD 20.5, you'll see that that is much thinner. So this is a pretty thick, chunky little knife. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my thoughts and impressions. I'm going to start with the warranty claim. So the warranty claim that I had on here had an issue with the centering. They did go ahead and send another blade out, and I want to bring that blade because I did not proceed with installing it. There's a couple of reasons why I decided not to do that. So I wanted to take advantage of the full review to talk about the fact that I was having an issue with centering it. So before I jump too much into this, let me go ahead and just show you a couple of concerns that I have with this. First of all, and I need a tool here, so bear with me. I should have been a little bit more prepared. I'm so sorry. The blade itself actually came with a recurved grind on it, and it is not advertised as a recurved grind. Hopefully you're seeing what I'm talking about almost right in front of that logo where it has the recurved grind to it. So first, that's my issue with the replacement, the warranty blade that they sent me. The second issue that I have with it is it's way smaller, and grind is way different. The tip on it isn't grind very well. Again, it has that recurve on it. I don't understand. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So I couldn't get it centered. I reached out to them. I expected, much like I had when I had this issue with the Gannett from QSP, that they would want me to send it to their US facility. That wasn't the case. The very first response that I got from them was they apologized for the fact that it wasn't centering up no matter what I was trying to do, which they did say, have you tried, loosening the pivot, moving it and tightening, the traditional way of going about trying to fix a blade when it doesn't come centered from the factory, which it should have come centered from the factory, right? That's issue number one. The next thing was, when I answered that question, they told me they were going to send me a detent back to fix the issue, but I would have to pay $27 in shipping. No, I'm sorry, $20. The first time was $20 in shipping. So I wrote back confused. I said, this is a button lock model, not a frame lock model, so I'm a little confused by what you're going to be sending me. What do you mean a detent? I'm not understanding what it is that you're claiming that you're going to send to me. So they responded back confirming the model number. I did mention that the last time I had an issue like this, that it was because I couldn't get the blade centered, and it ended up being, the manufacturer ended up telling me that it was because the blade was warped. So I didn't hear anything back for about a week, and then they responded back saying, we can send you a replacement blade, but it's going to be $27 for the replacement blade to ship it to you. So I did respond again saying I was confused because of the fact that it was a brand new knife, and I didn't understand why with a warranty I was having to pay to have it replaced. So they sent the blade along for free after that response. They did say, yes, we agree. It is new. We apologize. We'll send it to you for free. So that's fine. They're sending me the part, which is, I think, is a little bit weird, because I would think they would want me to send the knife to them so they could diagnose it to make sure that it's correct. Because again, I'm going off the fact that I'm saying the one other time I couldn't center it, I was told because the blade was warped. So the blade comes in, as you saw a moment ago. The grind is awful. It's shorter. It has a regrind because it's not grinded correctly. And, I'm at a loss for words for that. So I go through the process to try and install the blade. And same thing, couldn't get it centered, which is why I go back to the fact that I said my last experience with this was that it was a warped blade. As you see here, I was able to get it centered, but what I ended up having to do was actually adjust the holes. I must have scratched that one a little bit when I did that. Adjust the holes, opening them up just slightly, ever so slightly, so that I could shift the frame around, and I was able to get it pretty centered. It's not perfect. It's a little off center there. So I was able to get it centered, thankfully, because I would have preferred to keep this blade on there versus the other blade. So I got everything centered up, right? Well, no sooner that I got it centered and I started opening and closing it, and now I think the bearings or the plastic washer that the bearings are housed in are jammed up, because now it is super rickety. And I mean, it literally, I flipped it 2 times, and on the 3rd time I noticed it like stopped. So these bearings and the plastic washer are probably messed up. I took it apart and I couldn't tell which one it was. I feel like one of them wasn't moving as freely as the other, so now it's jammed up. So I'm just, for $70, the only bright side of this knife is that it has a 154 cm blade steel. The pocket clip was so cheap that when I actually went to put it in pocket and I walked by, I want to say I walked by where my tools are hanging, and the pocket clip got hung up and it pulled out so bad that I couldn't get it bent back into shape. So the steel pocket clip bent up on me, and when I tried to just kind of push it back down, it caught funny. I was trying to do it while I was still on the knife, trying to push it back down, and it caught funny, and it wouldn't go back. So thankfully I had an extra Civivi pocket clip that I was able to install on here to continue to use it. But then, like I said, the bearing went out on the knife as well. So the pocket clip sucks. It came out of center. The warranty experience was awful was absolutely awful. There is button stick on it as well. The action is horrendous, and I know that's because one of the bearings malfunctioned. But I've had so many issues, and then I hate this paper micarta. I think it looks awful. I think it feels awful in hand. It feels very cheap. The steel liners and the way that the finish on this knife feels very cheap. The stonewash on the blade looks good, but then again, the warranty replacement blade, the grind on it was not correct. It was awful. This is just by far the worst warranty experience I've had on one of the worst knives I've ever handled from Kizer. I would 100% steer you completely away from this knife. If you like this size of knife, get the Civivi Altus. It has Nitro V, which I like better than 154 cm. You can get it in G10 or wood. There's Unlock Composites has a carbon fiber scale that they're making for it now. It's just a far better knife. The action on it is superior. Instead of having nylon washers with ceramic bearings, it comes with phosphor bronze washers with the ceramic bearings housed inside of them, fully caged, very nice washers from the factory. The action's always been smooth. It doesn't even look that great. The design to it just doesn't even look that great. And again, I think the paper micarta, this is my first experience with the paper micarta, and it just looks very cheap, which is why I mentioned in the size comparison, when I brought the Shaman out, that micarta that was on it, just such a better looking micarta, better feeling micarta. This just looks artificial, looks very cheap. It's not very good looking. It doesn't even feel good in hand. Like I said, the best thing about this was the 154 cm blade and the stonewash. The jimping for a small knife, they carry it out, which was good. But I'm really reaching because I am not recommending this knife. And after this experience that I've had with Kizer's warranty versus my experience with QSP, with Civivi, when I had to send them the Cogent, when it developed a little bit of lock rock, I was sending the knife to them. I paid for my end on shipping, and they took care of everything else. Kizer wanted to charge me for them shipping me replacement parts, and they didn't even want the knife to look at it. It was just all in all an awful experience, and this knife seriously wouldn't have probably gotten that high of marks anyway with the lock stick. The only button lock that I've gotten from Kizer that I really like is the Begleiter 2. That was the only button lock that I've gotten from them that I've liked. All of their button locks have been very underwhelming and have left me very disappointed. And now that I've had to deal with the warranty experience, the pocket clip, I know that was my fault that I walked and caught it, but I've done that before, and usually it just nicks the clip, right? And you keep on going about your day. Like a prime example, I have this titanium one here. I walk by stuff all the time. I don't mean to. I'm a big guy. It's a little tight in my garage. I'm walking by stuff and I hit stuff, and I'm nicked the pocket clip. What can I say? I wish I had my banter down here. I'd do it with that one as well. I'm not quite sure why. There's some knives I do and some knives that I don't when I walk by stuff and I hit stuff. But, if you were spending $70 on this knife, I highly advise you not to. I would recommend getting the Altus. I had a couple of Altus, and I've had great experience with all of Civivi's button locks. While their detents sometimes might feel like they're a little on the light side, they always work. I've never truly had them fail for me. So they work really, really well. They're tuned really nicely. And again, they're giving you a steel material with that phosphor bronze cage that the ceramic bearings are in, so you don't have to worry about the nylon failing. Having said that, I do have plenty of other knives that have the nylon washers with the ceramic bearings, and the action on them are fine. So again, the likelihood that may happen, I know, is relatively low. But for me, for all of the button locks except for the Begleiter 2 that I've experienced from Kizer have been hot garbage. They just do not feel good. They're not smooth. And then this one failing, I mean, I'm holding the button in and the pivot is loose. So I know that there's a bearing in there, but I think that just further emphasizes the difference that you feel on the caged bearing that comes from Civivi versus Kizer. Those bearings are probably closer to the edge of their cage, which allows them to feel very smooth. I don't understand how Kizer is housing their bearings, and I think they just need to stop with the nylon washers after this experience. So this is a hard pass for me. Again, I would recommend the Altus. I would recommend the Chevalier. I would recommend the Conspirator if you wanted something a little bit bigger. But again, if you wanted something smaller, I would steer you towards the Altus for sure. I would even say, you know, again, for 70, you're not spending 70, but the Sheepdog and even everything that I've seen on the Drop Bear, although it is a little bit over $100 to get this one, very nice action. This one here has the phosphor bronze washer cage for the bearings, and you know, it operates much more smoothly, and you don't feel the washers skipping like you do with the nylon washers from Kizer. I would also say look towards QSP because they have outstanding warranty in addition to Civivi if you're looking at the Chinese budget knives. But just, I would even say, you know, spend an extra $40 and get a USA made case. Like, even theirs, it's buttery smooth. I know they're not button locks, but I'm just, you know, don't get this knife. I would say the Assassin, the Hiccup, which is probably in the same price range with this cheap ass micarta. Just, I mean, and I'm not even sure what I hit that against for that to like crush. And I don't know if micarta is susceptible to that. The pronounced button is really awful. The unfinished hardware, except for the stonewash backspacer, looks really, really cheap. Even the original pocket clip just looked kind of cheap to me. It was very underwhelming and not impressive. So, and then for me, not very recommendable. And just forewarning, if you're trying to deal with Kizer for any warranty issues, that's what you're going to encounter. There's going to be resistance. They're going to want you to pay for anything that they're going to ship to replace to you. They're not taking the knife in to evaluate what's really going on with it to try to fix it. Unlike my experience with both QSP and Civivi, and again, those were 1 out of like 40 or 50 knives. 1 out of 40 or 50 knives that I've had to send to them, where I've had 2 original button locks that were not good experience. Now I've had the Assassin, which is not a good experience, and I'm stuck with this. I can't sell it. I can't move it along. I wouldn't even give this away. It's in such bad shape. I wouldn't invest in any Rocket Glide bearings because the bearings are like paper thin. So, you know, this is just now going to be a paperweight. I can't use it or do anything with it. So in the end, my encouragement, because I'm trying to look out for fellow consumers in the marketplace, is I would avoid at least the button locks from Kizer. Heaven forbid if you need to warranty anything. Makes me nervous because these Omega Springs, I know at some point in time potentially have a high probability for failure, and it makes me nervous to even reach out to Kizer. I can only hope that the Omega Springs that fit on the Benchmades and the Hogues fit on that knife, because otherwise I'm screwed. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. I appreciate all the support out there for those that are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, consider. I would love to have you follow along. I have links for all of recommended knives that I've mentioned throughout this video, other ones that I recommend depending on your budget and price point. I have tools linked down below if you're interested in those, all to try to help you find what you need or to help steer you towards knives that I've personally experienced, both short-term and long-term, that have been really, really good, and or I've had good experience with the warranty from that company. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, peace.